Thanks for staying with us. The International Monetary Fund says it has secured more than $330 million in debt relief for Somalia. This brings the country a crucial step closer to paying its $5.3 billion debt and accessing new resources. The IMF said the funding pledged by its members showed that Somalia was committed to financial reform despite what it describes as very challenging circumstances. The country, which is one of the world's poorest, has an IMF-monitored economic program. A graft monitoring group has named Somalia the world's most corrupt country for the past several years. Well, for Somalia to navigate the remaining challenges and achieve its ambitious priorities, all Somalia's stakeholders must work together in the national interest. This is according to the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Somalia and the head of the mission in the country, James Swan. Swan says that 2020 has the potential to be a transformative year for Somalia, as a number of key national priorities are due to conclude and will impact Somalia's growth for years to come.
It is essential that the Somali government clarify its operational priorities and generate the necessary forces to enable operations to degrade al-Shabaab, defend recently recovered areas, and reopen main supply routes. These must be conducted with respect for human rights and sequenced with the return of legitimate local governance, rule of law, and stabilization activities in order to be sustainable. The Food and Agriculture Organization is supporting the government to mitigate the potentially catastrophic impact on food security. I call on donors to urgently provide funding and support for the 2020 humanitarian response plan.
We at AMISOM recognize that there are still a number of important issues to be ironed out to ensure unhindered and smooth implementation of the electoral law, but remain optimistic and confident that the momentum gained in the last 2 months will continue and that whatever obstacles may stand on the way of the elections in the last quarter of this year will be successfully overcome.
In order for us to be effective and decisively deal with the threats posed by al-Shabaab to our citizens and allies in the entire region, providing direct investment to Somali security forces is the surest way to attain this. We have courageous, committed men and women in uniform willing to protect their people against the plural enemy. We are, however, facing a shortage that will give our forces the requisite military edge over an enemy that's desperately determined to remain afloat. I would like to assure you today that we are bound and will respect the principles of holding elections on time and a peaceful and orderly transfer of power.
Over in South Sudan, at least one person has died and 100 others displaced after a wildfire ravaged an area of approximately 5 square miles in Nzara, destroying livelihoods. The United Nations mission in South Sudan has visited the area to assess the needs of the residents. A civil affairs officer in Yambio says that the effect of the fire is devastating. For the residents of Nzara, the fire represents an untimely disaster as the country is moving towards peace.
We are just staying outside, and the food we are having, we have only guineas, which can do nothing. And we were having cassava flour, everything have burned. We are just outside.
Many of community members have been displaced. Many people don't have homes, they have moved away. Many have reported the loss of properties and, of course, livelihood, because the people around here are farmers. Farms have been burnt. They have lost also food items in their granary. So from what we see, I think we see a need, urgent need for humanitarian intervention to support the people here in terms of provision of temporary shelter, tents, and food, and of course non-food items.
Flight Stories now. Kizomba, a popular dance and musical genre in Angola, is having a moment. Developed in the 80s and 90s in the region around the capital, It is often associated with celebrations or parties. Well, professional kizomba dancers tell us what it takes to sway to the sensual beat. Take a look.
It's a warm, humid afternoon in Londo Bay, an urban waterfront on Angola's Atlantic shore. Pairs of dancers in close embrace sway their hips from left to right and shuffle their feet to the sensual beats of kizomba music. Kizomba, which means party in Kimbundu, one of Angola's official languages, is a dance and music genre which developed in the 1980s in the capital and is fast becoming Angola's cultural identity. It's often associated with celebrations.
A kizomba, para mim, significa...
Kizomba means everything to me, just as much as my country, Angola. Sometimes I hear people saying Kizomba is only a musical or a dance, but for the way this art is strong, Kizomba is an identity. It's an art that gives life, unifies people regardless of the race or place of birth.
Tem esta mesma cultura, tem. Eu não...
4 decades since it emerged, and as the dance's popularity has spread through social media, special kizomba competitions, workshops and parties have popped up in Angola.
Like you being a foreigner and then adapting in their culture over here, it's great, you know. People also love to know that and to see you doing so. Like there is a respect more for their culture you're giving.
Some believe that kizomba could benefit the country's ailing economy by boosting tourism, just like the love of tango draws visitors to Argentina.
I would like to adopt them all, but I can't. I give priority to the most critical cases, animals who have been run over, animals who are suffering from malnutrition. I have to choose and bring in those who are most in need.
The dance, which has some similarity to Latin salsa, is known for having a slow, smooth and sensual rhythm. With the lyrics rendered in Portuguese, its popularity has spread to other countries as dancers enjoy its catchy beats and romantic flow.
I hope you learned a thing or two from that, as that's how we end the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shubawale.